Shri Harinam Sankirtan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, text number 8. I know this for a fact because I gave Shrimadbhagavatam class yesterday. Amantra chabhyanuj nataha
Amantra Chapyan Yataha
parisvajya vivadyatam
Parishvajya Vibhadyatam
aruroha ratam kaischet
Aruroharatam Kaise
parisvakto vivaditaha
Parishvakto Vivaditaha
amantrya chabhyanunyataha
Amantra Chapyan Yataha
parisvajya vivadyatam
Parishvajya Vivadyatam
aruroha ratam kaischet
Aruroharatam Kaise
parisvakto vivaditaha
Parishvakto Vivaditaha
amantrya chabhyunanyutaha
Amantra Chapyan Yataha
parisvajya vivadyatam
Parishvajya Vivadyatam
aruroha ratam kaischet
Aruroharatam Kaise
parisvakto vivaditaha.
Parishvakto Vivaditaha.
Go ahead. Somebody would like to read the verse.
Amantra Chapyan Yataha
Amantrya chabhyunanyataha
Parishvajyavivadhyatam
Parisvajyabhivadyatam
Aruroha ratham kaisit
Aururoha ratam kaischet
Parishvakto vivaditaha
Parishvakto bivaditaha. Amantrya,
Amantra
taking permission,
taking permission
cha,
Cha
and
and
abhyanunataha,
Abhyanugataha
being permitted,
permitted
parisvajya,
Parishvajya
embracing,
embracing
abhivadya,
Avivadya
bowing down at the feet,
bowing down at the feet
tam,
Tam
unto Maharaj Yudhishthir,
unto Maharaj Yudhishthira
Aururoha,
Aruroha
ascended,
ascended
ratam,
Ratham
the chariot,
chariot
kaschit,
Kaisit
by someone,
by someone
parisvakta,
Parishvakta
being embraced,
being embraced
abhivaditaha,
Avivaditaha
being offered obeisances. Translation. Afterwards, when the Lord asked permission to depart and the king gave it, the Lord offered his respects to Maharaj Yudhishthir by bowing down at his feet. And the king embraced him. After this, the Lord, being embraced by others and receiving their obeisances, got into his chariot. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the elder cousin of Lord Krishna, and therefore while departing from him, the Lord bowed down at the king's feet. The king embraced him as a younger brother, although the king knew perfectly well that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. The Lord takes pleasure when some of his devotees accept him as less important in terms of love. No one is greater than or equal to the Lord, but he takes pleasure in being treated as younger than his devotees. These are all transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The impersonalist cannot enter into the supernatural roles played by the devotee of the Lord. Therefore, Bhima and Arjuna embraced the Lord because they were of the same age. But Nakula and Sahadev bowed down before the Lord because they were younger than he. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Satarine. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yet kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So today we are continuing the discussion of this chapter from Shrimadbhagavatam entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamya paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That whenever there is a decrease in religious practice and a predominant rise in irreligion, then I personally descend into this world to protect the devotees and annihilate the miscreants and re-establish the principles of Dharma. Now, interestingly, these two verses are very well known in India, even outside of religious circles, outside of Vaishnava circles. It is because in the late 1980s, a TV series was made about the events that took place in Mahabharata. It became very famous, very appreciated by people all over the country. And even though, because of the influence of Kali Yuga, most people had either forgotten the Bhagavad Gita or were simply not very interested in it anymore. These two verses became popular because when the show began, as the credits were running, they played these two verses in the background. So watching the series weekend after weekend, people memorized these two verses because they would hear it. So of all the verses, these two became very famous throughout the country. And it's actually a very beautiful verse. The Lord personally descends to protect his devotees and annihilate the miscreants. There is many other ways. There are so many ways the Lord could have achieved the same result. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. I am situated in the heart of all living entities. So he could just cause the heart of the miscreants to stop beating. Yes? And thousands of miscreants could be vanquished all at the same time. Yes? Very easily. Or the Lord can send his Sudarshan Chakra, his unstoppable, inconceivably powerful weapon that could just annihilate all the miscreants in seconds. But yet, he personally descends to protect his devotees. That is because Krishna is Bhakta Vatsalya. He loves his devotees and he likes protecting his devotees. In this very verse that we read, Srila Prabhupada says very eloquently, the Lord takes pleasure when some of his devotees accept him as less important in terms of love. So Krishna, he loves protecting his devotees. He enjoys pastimes with his devotees. And to enjoy these and taste the nectar of the love of his devotees, the Lord personally appears. Otherwise, he possesses achintya shakti, inconceivable potencies. He does not need to personally appear anywhere to achieve a particular result. He could just do it from where he is in the spiritual world. But to enjoy these loving relationships, interactions, rasa, the mellows, with his pure devotees, the Lord appears time and time again. To remind the world of the prime importance of this human form of life. In the beginning of Shrimadbhagavatam, it is stated, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. That there are so many occupations, responsibilities we have in this material world. We have these bodies, we must take care of these bodies. So many responsibilities associated with that requirement. But what is the prime dharma or responsibility in this human form of life? Shrimadbhagavatam says it is to develop an attraction for the message of the Lord. So the Lord and his associates appear time and time again and give us these instructions through the Bhagavad Gita, through Shrimadbhagavatam. And to develop an attraction for that message is the most important responsibility in this human form of life. Because animals, they have no facility to understand the goal of life. As far as animals are concerned, the goal of life is to simply eat, engage in sex life, sleep, defend themselves. They have no knowledge to understand anything beyond that point. So if human beings were to do the same things that animals are doing, which most of the world's population unfortunately is engaged in, which is to just sleep and engage in sex life, defend themselves from enemies, then what is the difference between a human being and an animal? They are simply two-legged animals. The animal walks on all four. The human being walks on two. That is all the difference. In a conversation with Brahma Muhurta Prabhu, who used to be known as Bob Cohen, this is a famous book, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. Okay. It's a small book, but beautiful, wonderful book. Bob Cohen, he was asking Srila Prabhupada a series of questions over many meetings. And Prabhupada was giving answers, illuminating his intellect, Bob Cohen's intellect with his priceless answers. And these conversations were recorded in this book called Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. So in one section, Bob Cohen, who later became initiated by Srila Prabhupada as Brahma Muhurta Prabhu, he said to Srila Prabhupada, now I have become vegetarian. And Srila Prabhupada's immediate response was, even the pigeon is a vegetarian. He was illustrating a very important principle to Bob Cohen and to the rest of the audience assembled in that room and to the whole world to merely develop qualities that may be considered to be in a mode of goodness is not sufficient. The human form of life is not simply meant to be good to others, to be good to all living entities. It is meant to understand what is my role in this world? Why am I here? What is the goal of life? Only in the human form of life does one receive this facility to ask such questions, to make such inquiries. So to be vegetarian is very nice. To be nice to others, it is very nice. But that is not our prime responsibility. What is expected of us? Our prime responsibility is to obey the laws of God, Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has very kindly, for the benefit of all humanity, given such elaborate instructions, following which we can achieve the perfection of human life. Unfortunately, in the world today, much of the world is just simply engaged in either sinful activity or mundane acts which are appreciated by all this world, but cannot really allow us to progress to where we need to be. I remember in one lecture, my Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was explaining how he was in an airport waiting for his flight in Delhi. And he was then accosted by the Minister for Environmental Affairs, Maneka Gandhi. It was many years ago, when she was the minister in charge of the environment. And she approached him and she said, "Can I ask you a question?" Then she said, "In this world today, there are so many problems. And one of the greatest dangers facing us is pollution." So because she was the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Jai Shri Shri Radha Kundibera, Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramaya, Jai Shri Shri Gauranga. Because she was the Minister for Environmental Affairs, she was asking a question related to her area of expertise. And she said, the waters are polluted, the rivers, the oceans are polluted, the air is polluted, the forests are polluted. And everywhere, all species of life, including human beings, we are suffering because of this state of the world we are in today. But you Swamis, you are speaking about meditation, about chanting, and so many other things. What are you doing for the environment? How is this going to help fix the environment? We have a real crisis. So that was her question. So just yesterday in the Bhagavatam class, we were discussing about the three modes of material nature and why it is important to understand these things. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes to Arjuna extensively about the modes of material nature. And in the Shrimadbhagavatam 11th canto, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, he has discussions with his dear intimate friend and devotee, Uddhava. So that whole section is called the Uddhav Gita, because it's Krishna instructing Uddhava on important subject matters. And in the Uddhav Gita also Krishna talks extensively about the modes of material nature. If it wasn't so important, Why would the personality of Godhead speak about these things? Elaborate instructions. Because in order to treat a particular condition, we must understand the root cause of that condition. The condition itself may present certain types of symptoms, and it is important to treat those symptoms to alleviate the pain. But unless one treats the root cause, the problem will still just simply reappear. So we must understand the root cause of problems. So when we understand how conditioned souls are influenced by the modes of material nature, then we can find a solution, because we now understand the root cause. So when the Minister for Environmental Affairs, she asked this question, my Guru Maharaj, he answered. He said, what is the root cause of this pollution? What caused this pollution of the air, of the water, of the forests? It is caused by the pollution in the ecology of the heart. Srila Saraswati Thakur, great Acharya who is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, he said there is nothing lacking in this world. This world has enough to supply the needs of everybody. But they are still unhappy because they are lacking in one thing: God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So there is enough in this world to satisfy the needs of everybody. People are not satisfied. We need more and more and more. We have a cell phone this year. Next year, we want the latest model. In another year or two, yet another model. We are not satisfied driving the same car for a lifetime. In a few years, I know people who don't like to drive the same vehicle for more than 2 years or 3 years. They swap out their lease, get a new vehicle, and again, to another 2 or 3 years, another vehicle. So these industries are simply catering to the demands of people and just producing more and more and more, simply to satisfy the desires of people. So as they produce more and more, all of these pollutants are being released into the air, into the water, and causing widespread destruction. So what is the root cause? It is because people are not satisfied with a simple lifestyle. This quality of greed that has corrupted the hearts of most of this world's population is the root cause of all this pollution. So unless one treats that root cause, we can apply some kind of a solution to treat the waters, to treat the air, to heal the forests, but it is only a question of time before the waters once again become polluted, the air becomes polluted, and the forests become polluted. So Srila Radhanath Maharaj was explaining to this minister, so we need people like you to address the concerns and to apply some solutions, but you also need the Swamis to heal the hearts of people, to eliminate all of these unwanted, undesirable qualities that have corrupted our consciousness: envy, greed, and lust, all of these things that manifest in the form of so many problems in this world. Actually, it is a common experience. We see that when there is a problem, the solution that people typically come up with, it may solve the problem that they were trying to solve, but in solving that problem, the solution that they come up with creates a bigger problem than the original problem. And now considerable effort needs to be expended to fix this new problem. And eventually people will come up with some kind of a solution to solve that problem. They'll create an even bigger one. It is a vicious cycle, very difficult to get out of. Our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, he was often critical of the United Nations. And it has been so many years since Srila Prabhupada pointed out their deficiencies. Srila Prabhupada departed this world in the year 1977, so another almost 50 years have passed by, and we have seen the UN, the United Nations, hasn't really made any progress even since then. Because the United Nations method is to teach people to come together despite their differences. But the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they teach us there is no difference. There are external coverings we find ourselves in. Indian or American or white or black or brown. These are simply external designations. But in reality, we are all Satchit Ananda, spirit souls. Right. There is no difference. To see everyone on that platform means to bring about real unity. The United Nations is failing because they do not propagate or understand this reality. But these scriptures, Bhagavatam, Shrimadbhagavatam Gita, they bring about a realization in the hearts of people about this eternal reality. So this was a beautiful answer that my Guru Maharaj gave to the Minister for Environmental Affairs. So unless we treat the root cause of everything, of all the problems, we cannot find a sustainable, lasting solution. And the root cause of everything is our very presence in this world, is our forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with Krishna. We have forgotten our relationship with Krishna. By chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by associating with devotees, by reading Shrimadbhagavatam, by hearing Shrimadbhagavatam, our eternal relationship with the Lord is revived. It is there, it has simply been forgotten. And in these pages of Shrimadbhagavatam, they reveal to us the highly personal nature of the personality of Godhead. Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he was the elder cousin of the Lord treated him as a superior. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, even though he really knew the actual position of Krishna, he accepted it. He accepted it out of love. So these nectarian descriptions of the interactions, the loving relationships between the Lord and His devotees, they awaken a love for the Lord within our own hearts. And when we regularly hear these things, then the desire to serve is strongly established. We will see in the coming verses how Srimad Bhagavatam describes the intelligent people. They hear about the glories, the personality of Godhead from great souls in the association of devotees. And when we do that, these descriptions are so nectarian that even if we only hear once, the desire to hear repeatedly becomes manifest in the heart. And as we hear more and more, the same verses, the same pastimes, they can reveal to us deeper and deeper meanings and newer realizations. I've actually had this experience. Some time ago, I was hearing a class by my Guru Maharaj. Now, it was not the same class, but I had heard that particular subject matter in another class a few years ago. So in my mind, I was thinking, should I skip this lecture? Because I already know this. Yes, it is a different class, not the same class, but the subject matter was very similar. So I was thinking, I already know this. So maybe perhaps I should skip this lecture and hear something that I don't know, that I have not heard. But for some reason, I decided to let it play. And it was incredible. Throughout the lecture, he was opening up different angles of understanding, different dimensions of understanding. And by the end of the lecture, I was thinking, it was almost as if I was hearing this particular subject for the very first time. The Bhagavad Gita and Shrimadbhagavatam are like that. The world of bhakti is a shoreless, bottomless ocean. Even the oceans of this world, we know them, very large. If someone were given the task of counting the drops of water in an ocean, what an inconceivably difficult task that would be. But these oceans have a shore and they have a bottom, regardless of how large they may be. But the ocean of bhakti, no bottom and no shores. It is said that Lord Anantashesh, who is a direct expansion of the personality of Godhead, in his serpent form with his unlimited mouths, he has been glorifying Krishna since the beginning of time. And he's not done yet. And he will never be done. Because Lord Krishna's glories are unlimited. There is no end to it. So when we read or hear, we should not think, I've heard this already, or I know this already. When we hear sincerely the same verse, the same pastime, it can open up and bring us realizations that we never had before. So all we need is the proper attitude to hear in a submissive mood, to hear with eagerness, to understand Krishna, to please Krishna. Because ultimately, all our endeavors find perfection when we please the personality of Godhead. Atha purvi dvijashreshta varnashrama vibhagasana swanishtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshana. All our endeavors are perfect when Lord Hari is pleased. So whatever we do, we must do it with that motive, to please the personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajjuhoshi dadasiyat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurishva madarpana. Whatever you give away in sacrifices or charity, whatever you eat, essentially whatever you do it as an offering to me. So when we act on that platform, then all our activities become devotional, bhakti. Otherwise, Bhagavatam simply declares, Dharma swanishchita pumsam vishwakseno katasuya nodpaded ediratim shrama eva hi kevalam. If we act in forgetfulness of Krishna, our relationship with Krishna, then essentially all our activities in this life, whatever variety they may be, are just useless labor. And Srila Prabhupada has given this beautiful example of a number of zeros, a series of zeros. What is the value of all those zeros? You may have as many zeros as you like, but there's still a zero. But if you add a 1 at the beginning, then it becomes a very valuable number. So Krishna consciousness is not about a radical change in our lifestyle. It is simply minor adjustments. But most importantly, it is to bring Krishna into our lives. Then whatever was without meaning now becomes completely meaningful. We were discussing in yesterday's Bhagavatam class, there is a beautiful verse, Appavitra pavitrova sarvavastam gatopiva yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhakya abhayantara suchi. Even just by remembering the lotus-eyed Lord, Sri Krishna, the result is that there is the manifestation of all auspiciousness. Any inauspiciousness is removed and one becomes purified from within and without. Whereas, if we were to lead our lives in forgetfulness of Krishna, whatever activity we may be engaged in, even pious activity, in this world we see so many people, they set up charitable organizations to essentially engage in charitable work, feeding the hungry people food, giving them clothes to eat, clothes to wear, a place to stay. But all of these things, if they were done as an offering to Krishna, not only would the person doing it benefit because he is now distributing prasadam, but also the person receiving it, he also benefits. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhardev Goswami Maharaj, a illustrious godbrother of our Srila Prabhupada, he gave the perfect definition of altruism. Now the dictionary, it defines altruism as unselfish charitable work. But what really is altruism? Unselfish charitable work is a very deficient description and definition. Sri Sridhar Maharaj, he gave the perfect definition. He said real altruism means to engage in an activity that benefits the maximum number of people for the longest period of time. So any activity that benefits the maximum number of people, actually maximum number of living entities for the longest period of time. Only Krishna consciousness fits that definition. In yesterday's class we were discussing this point. When somebody goes out in a group, as part of a group, chanting Harinam Sankirtan, not only to the people who hear, they derive benefit, but also any living entity in the vicinity, a squirrel, a bird, who hears that sound, transcendental sound vibration, that living entity may not understand it, but the benefit is there. Prasadam, when one distributes prasadam, now the people who honor that prasadam, not only is their hunger satisfied, but also because it is the mercy of the Lord. The Lord accepts, He considers this person has served me by accepting my mercy. And their devotional service, their journey back home begins right at that moment. It may take many lifetimes, but the journey begins right at that very moment. And not only the poor people who honor that prasadam, any living entity that honors that prasadam, a cow or a dog or a squirrel, because they have received the remnants of the Lord's mercy, their journey also begins at that very point. Whereas mundane charity is limited to such a few recipients, the effect is limited to such a few number of recipients. Whereas knowingly or unknowingly, in Krishna consciousness, the recipients are large in number. Anyone who comes in contact is benefited. So real altruism means to give the greatest benefit to the maximum number of recipients for the longest period of time. The greatest benefit. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that even if one performs a little bit of seva, neha vikrama nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya dhrayate mahatomaya. Even if one performs a little service of any kind, he is saved from the greatest danger. So if one even honors a little bit of prasadam, in whatever form of life that person may be, that living entity benefits, which is why it is the greatest benefit. So to give the greatest benefit to the maximum number of recipients for the longest period of time, that is real altruism. And only Krishna consciousness can fulfill all these three criteria. To give the greatest benefit to the maximum number of recipients for the longest period of time. Any seva performed to Krishna is never lost. It goes with us for the rest of our existence. Any activity done on this material platform, the effect is lost soon as the life airs of this body leave. Then in the next life we have to start over again from scratch. We may have died a multi-millionaire, but we start with a zero bank balance in the next life. However, if one has rendered any service to the Lord, however insignificant it may be, he continues from that point forward too. So what to speak of if we were to fully dedicate ourselves in the service of the Lord and His devotees? How much benefit we could acquire. So it is our greatest good fortune that one way or other, whether we deserved it or did not deserve it, somehow we find ourselves in this holiest of all holy places, Devasadan Mandir, in the association of devotees, with this prime opportunity to perfect this human form of life by achieving the highest goal. By constantly reading Shrimadbhagavatam, hearing Shrimadbhagavatam, chanting the holy names, rendering seva to the deities in the association of their devotees. So let us take full advantage of this facility that our previous acharyas have given us. Srila Prabhupada very kindly established so many temples just to give us this opportunity. So let us take full advantage of this and perfect our lives. Thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments, or realizations anybody would like to share?
It was so nice how Lord Krishna is walking down Yudhishthira as a Yudhishthira is older.
Yes.
Showing the example.
Yes.
The Lord Himself is showing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, then prasadam awaits. Please honor Krishna prasadam. Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada. की जय.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.